Are you looking for the best monitors? In this video, we will look at some of the 5 best monitors on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so I'll make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. Acer Nitro XF243 Wipe Microx. While you'll need to spend some money on a monitor for photo editing for the best performance, some cheap ones are good enough for amateur editors or as a secondary display. The Acer Nitro XF243 Wipe Microx is a good monitor for content creation that has a smaller 24-inch screen and lower 1080p resolution than the Dell S2721QS. Although this means that you won't see as many details as on a 4K display, the pixel density is still good enough for decently sharp images. This monitor is better than other cheap displays for photo editing because it has a dedicated sRGB mode with great accuracy. This mode does lock some picture settings, including the brightness, but even with it on, it's still bright enough for dim or moderately lit rooms. This monitor also has remarkable ergonomics that make it easy to adjust. This means you can easily turn the screen to show someone else your work, and you can even rotate it into portrait mode if you want to use it as a secondary vertical display next to your main one. Number 2. Dell S2721QS. If you're looking for something on a budget, another option from Dell's 4K lineup, the Dell S2721QS, is a good choice but is a step down from the more expensive Dell S2722QC model with fewer features. The main difference is that it doesn't have a USB hub, so you can't use your laptop's USB-C port to connect to it like on the S2722QC. However, it still has DisplayPort and HDMI inputs, so you can use an adapter even if your laptop doesn't have those ports. Besides the difference in connectivity, the picture quality is very similar to the S2722QC as it also has decent accuracy. Still, it doesn't have an sRGB mode, so you'll have to calibrate it if you need the most accurate colors possible. There are other budget monitors available with an sRGB mode, like the Asus ProArt Display PA278CV or the Gigabyte M27QP, but those have a 1440p resolution, so you don't get as many details or the same image sharpness as on the Dell. Number 3. Dell S2722QC. If you don't need a high-end monitor like the Apple Studio Display for editing content with Mac computers and find the Dell U2723QE too expensive, check out the Dell S2722QC. It's a step down in price and performance from the U2723QE as it doesn't have a dedicated sRGB picture mode, meaning it has worse accuracy, but that's what you must expect when getting something cheaper, and the accuracy is still decent. It also has a smaller USB hub than the U2723QE, with only 2 USB-A ports and a single USB-C port, which still supports DisplayPort Alt mode with 65W of power delivery, enough to charge smaller laptops. It's a great choice if you need to use your monitor in a bright room because it has great peak brightness, enough to fight glare, and the reflection handling is even better than the U2723QE. It has wide viewing angles that are great if you need to share your work with someone next to you, and the excellent ergonomics make adjusting the screen in different ways easy. Number 4. Apple Studio Display. If you want to edit your photos with a Mac computer, like a MacBook Pro or Mac Mini, consider the Apple Studio Display. While the Dell U2723QE is still good enough to use with macOS devices, the Studio Display has features you can use only with a Mac computer. One of those features is its dedicated sRGB mode that results in exceptional accuracy, and you won't even need to calibrate it for the most accurate image. It also has a high 5K resolution, resulting in an incredibly high pixel density and sharp images. This monitor is a lower-end model than the Apple Pro Display XDR, a monitor meant for professional users, but that costs a lot more, so the Studio Display is the better option for most people. It's different in a few ways from the Dell because it doesn't support HDR, but that doesn't make much difference if you don't edit photos in HDR. It's available with 2 different types of stands, but neither is as ergonomic as the stand on the Dell, so it's hard to adjust to an ideal position unless you get the variant with a mounting adapter, for which you'll need to buy a proper mount. Number 5. Dell U2723QE. The best monitor to use for photo editing that we've tested is the Dell U2723QE. It's a 4K monitor designed with content creators in mind, so it's excellent for this use. It has a dedicated sRGB mode, limiting the colors to the standard sRGB space used in most web content, and you won't have to get it calibrated unless you need absolutely perfect colors and white balance. The 4K resolution is also great for editing because it lets you see more detail in your images, and the 27-inch screen is big enough to multitask. If you want something bigger, you can also consider the 32-inch Dell U3223QE, but it costs more for minimal difference in performance. Connecting to the U2723QE is easy as it has a massive USB hub with 5 USB-A ports and 3 USB-C ports. One of the USB-C inputs supports DisplayPort Alt mode with 90 W of power delivery, so you can charge your laptop while working. If you tend to work in a bright room, it easily gets bright enough to fight glare, but it has disappointing reflection handling, so it's best to avoid placing it opposite a window with direct sunlight.